Hey everyone, my name's Ercy and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I got a good old-fashioned book haul for you guys. So if that's something you want to see, then stick around. So in my last haul type video where I was showing off a few of the books that I wound up getting recently, I had said that I wasn't going to be purchasing that many books until I got through some of the ones that I already had completed, and just continuing on with series. And then a library sale happened. Yeah, I don't know. There's just too many books here for me to show you guys. But I'm really excited about all of them anyways. So, I mean, they make me happy. But I really, truly believe the only books I will be getting after this will be like either books from Book of the Month, because I do subscribe to that, and continuing on with some of the series. I do know that there are 2 series next year that I do want to start. And those will be the Stormlight Archives and the Malazan series. But one of the ways that I do plan on tackling this issue that I have is going to my library. And I frequent the library a lot because I take my daughter there all the time. And so I want to show off 2 books that I did pick up at the library before I get into the books that I wound up purchasing, because both of these are books that one of these I'm actually currently reading as well, and then the other one I will be getting into it within this month and coming into January. So let's just start with the books. The first book I want to talk about from the library is 400 Souls, and this one is edited by Ibram X. Kendi and Keisha N. Blaine. And this is a history book about the African American experience in the United States from 1619 to 2019. And this is a very, very ambitious project, and I'm really interested in reading this book because there are 90 people in total writing this book. The point of this is to create a narrative of the African American experience in the United States. I'm really excited to get into this book. So far I've only read the introduction, but this will be one of those books that I'll just be reading in the background, reading each of the chapters whenever I have time. And then when I do wind up finishing it, I'll come back to you guys and tell you about my experience reading this book. Yeah, I'm just really excited to get into this. As someone who has studied history, I know that in the United States, you kind of have to go out of your way to read about other cultures outside of the standard colonialism and the white history of the United States, to put it quite plainly. I feel like that's really unfortunate, but I'm glad that there are books like this that make it really accessible for people to read about another side of history that you probably won't get taught in schools, unfortunately. And I really feel like we should remedy that, but with our current political climate, I don't know how successful that's gonna be. But I'm really glad for books like this. I hope you guys pick this one up too. So this is 400 Souls. The second book I picked up from my library is The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And this one, I believe the CodeX Cantina, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be doing like a read-along of this book starting in January, but I wanted to get my hands on a copy of this and just kind of start whenever I had the chance. One of the main themes in this one is innocence. It says he winds up leaving a Swiss sanatorium, and then he went to Russia to go collect an inheritance and be among people. I believe it's going to be like how his character kind of impacts the people around him. So I'm really interested in reading this one, and maybe this one will help me get over my fear of reading Dostoevsky. Yeah, I just gotta dive in. But yeah, there's a read along for that one if you guys are interested in participating in that as well. And now for books I actually purchased. Like, I know you guys already know that I am in the middle of the Dark Tower series. I feel like each of those books I've been picking up like in all these weird places. So book number 1 actually belongs to my younger brother, the Gunslinger. So I just borrowed that one from him. Books 2 and 3 I wound up getting at like a leave one, take one kind of deal at a local coffee shop. Well, not local to here, but local when I was living overseas. So I got 2 and 3 from that. And then book number 4, Wizard and Glass. This one I picked up from Amazon because I was participating in that read along with Steve over on Steve Talks Books and stuff, and everyone else doing that read along. We're actually going to be discussing this one on Saturday over at Maza Booktuber's channel. But yeah, this is book number 4, and this is the flashback. This is pretty much Roland's flashback. So you get a lot of what makes Roland in this book. And then my library had a sale, and I know I mentioned it in a few videos, but that's where I wound up getting Wolves of the Kala. And this is a beautiful hardcover with the illustrations edition. It's practically brand new. Like I don't see any flaws in this edition, and so I wound up getting this one at the library sale along with hardcovers for 6 and 7. So this is Song of Susanna, same thing, hardcover with illustrations and everything of this book. I don't know anything about this book because I haven't read book 5 yet. So there's that. And then also book 7. And I think this cover is so beautiful. This just breaks out of my pattern of buying one book at a time for a series. And it was only because of the library having the sale and seeing these beautiful editions. I just couldn't pass them up, especially because I knew I committed to reading this series with everyone in that group. So I was really excited to find these and get them. So the only one I'm missing right now from the Dark Tower series is The Wind Through the Keyhole, but we're not going to be reading that one until after we get through the final book of the series. So even though it's between books 4 and 5, it's not really essential to the story, is from what I've been hearing. Yeah, we're just going to read it after this one, so I've got a lot of time before I need to go pick that up. So yeah, I'm just really excited to have found these there because these are such beautiful editions of these books. At that same library sale, I wound up finding If It Bleeds, also by Stephen King. And this is a short story collection. And I believe they're all horror. And I've heard mixed feelings about this collection. I want to give it a chance. And I mean, if it doesn't work out, it's not as if I spent so much on this. I'm looking at the back and the price is $30. And I only wound up paying like $3 for this. What's great about the library sale is that these books were donated to the library from people in the community, and then the library sells them in order to use those funds for the library. So regardless, like, I'm okay if I don't like this one as much as I do the other ones. You know, you're supporting the library anyways, and once I'm done with this one, if I don't like it, I will give it back to the library and just kind of donate it. That way they can resell it again and somebody else can enjoy it. But that's if I don't like it. What if I do like it? I don't know. So I do like short stories. And this cover is really cool too. I really like the cat. I don't know what it is about this cover that I really like. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this one too and to give it my own perspective. At that same library sale, I wound up finding Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. And this is the first book to this series. I believe there's a TV show about this as well. I haven't seen any of it at all. But yeah, this is a sci-fi series that takes place in outer space. From what I've heard is that this is sort of like Games of Thrones in space. But I feel like, do you guys ever feel like they're always using George R.R. Martin as like the standard for a certain type of fantasy? And like you're seeing it all the time, and it's like Game of Thrones but this, Game of Thrones but that. Like, I don't know, like, are they overusing that? What do you guys think? I feel like they're overusing that, and it's like overhyping the Game of Thrones series or the Song of Ice and Fire series, which I do love. It's one of my favorite series, but I don't think you need to compare it to everything, because then when it doesn't, you're gonna think that like something's trash because you're comparing it to Games of Thrones, which again I love, but I don't think you need to compare everything to Game of Thrones. But I'm not gonna lie, it made me want to get this book because it says Game of Thrones in space. Like, I'm okay with that, but I don't know how true that is, and I don't want to have to constantly be thinking, is this like George R.R. Martin's work? Because I feel like every author can't just be George R.R. Martin. I don't know. What do you guys think? Either way, I'm excited to have this book because I've heard great things about this series and I want to get into it. Yeah, I'm just really excited to have this. Another one I got was Leave the World Behind by Ruman Alam. And this is supposed to be like a thriller or contemporary fiction about this white family going to disconnect at like some Airbnb in Long Island where there's like no service or anything. And then this black couple comes and knocks on the door. There's like this big blackout. There's nowhere else to go, and we need to come back home. And so they wind up staying together. But are they really the owners of the house? I don't know. So I believe that this is supposed to touch on like race while also being very suspenseful. So I'm really interested to get into this one. Larry over at Larry Has Opinions has a really great review on this book. And this book was also featured on Barack Obama's summer reading list. So there are plenty of reasons why I want to pick up this book, because it sounds really interesting and I want to get into this one very soon. So I'm just happy to have a copy of this and to get it for really expensive at the library. So there you go. Leave the world behind. Memorial by Brian Washington. And this is about a gay couple who have been married for a long time, I believe. One of the men is black and then the other one is Asian. I believe he's Japanese. He's a Japanese American chef. And this is another book that got like a ton of great reviews. I believe the Japanese man winds up going back to Japan because his father is close to death, but his mom came to go visit and she winds up staying with the black man in the relationship. I believe this is another one that's going to touch on race. It's going to touch on gay marriage. It's going to be talking about culture. I believe it's going to be like a ton of issues. How do you feel after being married for a long time? And so I feel like this is going to be one of those books that's going to be very relatable, especially me. Like, I've been married 9 years. Any book that talks about like the comforts of marriage and like how you should still be trying to reinvigorate your marriage and stuff like that. Those are things that I find relatable because it happens. But yeah, I'm just really excited to get into this one. Last one from that library sale is Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. This one just sounds really cool. I think it's supposed to be like historical fiction, but sci-fi, because this one lady, she just lives her life out of order. And she's got to try to make sense of what's going on with her life and try to see how her actions impact the way that her life turns out, really. So yeah, I'll just be picking this one pretty soon. So I'm done with the library sale. Let's go on to books that I picked up at other places. The first one I want to talk about is Nocturne by H.B. Diaz, and this is a collection of dark horror gothic stories that I really, really loved. But I first heard about this one over on Steve Talks Books and Stuff. This is one of his favorite, I believe, if not his favorite collection of the year. And for good reason. This book is phenomenal, and I really suggest you guys go pick it up. But she wound up sending me a digital copy of the book to read and review. And I loved it so much that I wound up just buying my own because it was so good. It's so good. I need you guys to go pick this up, because if you love horror, pick up this book because this collection is really great. My current read, aside from 400 Souls, is The Hot King by Josiah Bancroft. This one my cousin actually sent to me. She sent a gift to my daughter, and then she was like, I want to send you something. Didn't have to send it to me, but I'm really glad that she did. This is book 3 of the Books of Babel series, and I'm really, really loving this book right now. I'm on page 174, and it's just so good. This is such a great series. I really love this book. This next book I showed off in one of my last videos, but Dune by Frank Herbert. I picked this up at Barnes & Noble's. The Barnes & Noble's that was close to me was closing down. They just wound up selling the property to somebody else. So they had a huge sale to try to move out their inventory. And so then that's pretty much why I wound up grabbing this one. I will be reading this one very soon. Hopefully either this month or next month. I will definitely be reading this one because it's just been a long time coming. So I'm really excited to get to this book. 2 books I wound up picking up from Book of the Month. The Perishing by Natasha Dion. And this one just sounds really cool. It's like speculative fiction, maybe sci-fi. It's about this lady living in LA, and I believe she's immortal. She winds up seeing this one man that she's been drawing for forever, and so she winds up trying to connect with him to try to figure out what's going on with her life. But yeah, I think it just sounds really cool, so I wound up grabbing this one. And when I did grab that one, I wound up adding on Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. And this one sounds like Taken in a way, where it's like these two men, they have a certain set of skills. They're con men. They were just released out of prison, and they wind up coming together because their sons were murdered. Their sons were married to each other. One is black, one is white, and I believe the two dads come together to try to get revenge. But this one just sounds really cool. Almost done. I got 4 more books to show you guys. So I have The Gold Persimmon by Lindsay Merbaum, and this is a queer horror story, I believe. Sort of like dual dimension, dual timeline maybe, surrounding this one hotel, and it just sounds really cool. Yeah, I just need to pick it up already. I just keep grabbing all these big books. Speaking of big books, I have Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr, and this one I actually got in a surprise giveaway that Sheryl from Shelf Improvement was having on her channel. It was just like one of her videos, and she kind of just snuck it in there. And I was like, let me just submit my form for this giveaway. Like, I'm not gonna win. Like, I'm sure other people are gonna get it. And then she hit me up and she was like, oh, you won. What book do you want? I was like, okay, thank you. So I wound up telling her that I wanted this book because this one sounds really, really cool. It's, again, like maybe historical fiction, sci-fi, literary fiction, contemporary, I don't know. I think there's like a ton of timelines in here, and they're all kind of interconnected with each other. So if I wasn't in the middle of the Dark Tower books and the Books of Babel series, I would have definitely picked this one up. But yeah, this is a big boy too. So I definitely want to get into this one. And this one I wound up getting from a giveaway with Raul Reads. Again, the same thing. I enter these giveaways with no expectations, and then they hit me up and they're like, oh, you won. And I'm like, thank you. So I know I've thanked Raul a ton of times, so thank you, Raul, for this book. Another giveaway book. Again, I never expect to win anything. And then this one I got from BookBuds. I'll link their channel down below as well. So the BookBuds were holding their first giveaway. Comment in their video like, oh, we're BookBuds. And I was like, of course we're BookBuds. I love these guys. And they wound up sending me this book. This is one of their favorite authors, Stephanie Garber, and the book is Once Upon a Broken Heart. And this is like a YA fantasy romance kind of book. But cool thing is, it's also signed by the author. So thank you to the BookBuds for sending me this book. Very last book that I'm going to talk about in this haul, American Royals by Catherine McGee. And now this book I wound up getting, I also got this book for free, but I got it through Kellogg's. So Kellogg's has that thing where I believe every summer before the school year, if you send in a copy of your receipt, you can pick out a book for them to send to your home. And so I usually use that to get some books for my daughter, which I did. But after like a couple of them, some of the books that were at her age level, either I had them or she's read them or we weren't interested in picking those up. So I wound up looking at the YA section and I saw this one. And this is one of those books that like I've heard about and the premise sounds really cool. It's in the United States. So, but after the American Revolution, instead of us forming our constitution and the democracy and everything, we wound up creating our own monarchy here as well. So we're following some kids in the royal family of the United States. Is it still the United States? Is that what it's called? If it's a monarchy? I don't know. We're going to find out in this book. But it is a YA book, so we'll see how it goes. It just sounds really interesting. We'll see. But that is it. Those are all the books. This is crazy. That was a lot of books. Like I said, I'm in the middle of the Books of Babel series and the Dark Tower series, and I'm really enjoying those books. Everything else is just kind of bonuses to slip in between those books or after I finish reading that series. But let me know if you've read any of these books. I know I've seen a lot of these on a lot of people's channels, but let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.